I'm going to check out Airia AI today. I've been in the multi-agent space for a while. Big fan of multi-agent orchestration. Let's check it out. I've got some tools that I set up earlier, like Brave Search MCP. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to use the Airia universal key and connect with those credentials. I'll connect the MCP server, and this is going to make it available for me to be able to find later. I love that I could add GitHub MCP. If you're familiar with my work, Model Context Protocol gives your agent superpowers. It's like the new wave of APIs. This allows your agentic system to not only access these tools, but understand how to use these tools without you needing to code or configure it to do so. Pretty useful right out the gate. I've added Brave Search MCP, and let's get started. I'm going to start a new project. We'll call this Gov Shutdown. I want to make a test multi-agent system that is going to have a finder, it'll have a writer, it'll have a reviewer, and then that'll be it. I think for now, we can always add levels of complexity such as parsers or image generators, but let's just see what it takes. It's clean in practice. I've got my new project. I want the multi-agent system to give daily briefings about the government shutdown and how it might impact our business. I'm going to use a fictional business behind the scenes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new agent and call this one Finder. So you can access a bunch of models through your area key or add your own API key. I've added a couple of my own models. I'm going to use Gemini 2.5 Pro. I've been a big fan of Gemini models for quick prototypes. I put together this prompt elsewhere. What I'm telling it is you are a Finder agent. Your task is to retrieve all publicly available news articles published today that reference the U.S. federal government shutdown in October 2025 or its imminent risk, with a focus on how it affects government contractors. I'm going to give it some parameters of what I want it to do when it finds an article and want it to generate a summary. My hope for Finder is not that it pass judgment or create content. I want Finder to focus on finding good content relevant to today. The next thing I'm doing is clicking on tool. I've got a couple tools queued up. I'm actually going to go with the Brave Search MCP skill. I've got our prompt tools tested. Something I always appreciate about these tools is being able to see the reasoning happen. You can see the green. Cool, easy fix. I'm going to add a second prompt here just to add some clarification so that bug doesn't happen again. I'm going to tell it that there's going to be raw sources passed in. So I'm going to go ahead and test this out. We'll publish. Let's test her out. As I was mentioning, I love being able to see the reasoning. You can see these nodes light up. That's very intuitive. And I'm able to confirm that the Brave browser MCP tool is accurately fetching relevant content from today and generating little snippets as well as the relevant headlines. So let's go ahead and set up our next agent. Cool. So this new agent, we're going to call this one Writer. This one's going to take an input and set the model. I'm going to use a pretty good model. Try out this Claude 3.7. Go to Start Edit. And I'm going to insert a prompt that I was just cooking up. This is introducing the agent as Writer agent. It's telling it what the input could be, a JSON array of news articles, which we just tested. It provides a goal, synthesize these articles into a polished narrative. Instead of a social media post, I think it's going to generate an executive summary of what it found and an impact statement for government contractors, sentiment analysis, the overall headlines. Do things look good for us as an org? I've got Writer agent. It's going to take inputs, pass it in. Let's just go ahead and actually keep it with Gemini. I love that I can swap models. I can adjust the temperature a little bit. I don't want a temperature of 1. That's pretty aggressive. So let's go ahead and make our temperature about 0.3. We can tweak that later. I want to keep the user input, but I don't necessarily need to keep the full chat history. Again, pretty intuitive setup here. So let's just go ahead and publish. Let's create a new agent. We're going to call this one Reviewer. This is probably one I would expand on beyond this video. You can fine tune and create loops. I noticed Airia actually allows you to manage flow control. You can basically tell it to repeat steps a number of times. You can get pretty advanced visually, which is nice because it's easy to get lost in the code. For the model, I'm going to go ahead and use the same one that I was using before, Gemini 2.5 Pro. Date and time context. For the reviewer, I don't want it being very creative. We'll have it keep the user's input and include the entire chat history. For prompt, I'll drop in our new prompt here. I'm telling it it's a reviewer, and this has been smooth. I'm going to publish that. All right, this last part will be fun. Let's create a coordination agent. We'll call this one Orchestrator. It's going to take an input, and For orchestra, it's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna have an input, we're gonna have our output, but I don't necessarily need a model in the middle. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag in the agents we created. First, our Finder will use the newest version. I'm gonna copy and paste, connect these inputs and outputs. I want it to go from the user input into the first agent, which is our Finder. It'll go into our second agent, which is gonna be our writer, and it'll go into our third agent, which is our reviewer, which again will expand on the complexity beyond this video. And right now I'm going to switch this from Finder to Writer, give it the newest version, and switch this one to Reviewer with the newest version. Pretty straightforward input to our agents. Here goes nothing. Let's get started. And so what's going to happen, it's going to take my input, pass it into the first agent, which is our Finder, which is going to use Brave MCP to go and find relevant articles. You can fine tune this. You can limit what sources you want it to access. You could also have it like literally just expand on your company's blogs or case studies. Once Finder finds the information that we're looking for, it's going to generate those summaries and it's going to pass it right out to Writer. What Writer's doing is taking those sources as we just defined, and it's going to create my summary. Again, as you saw, completely customizable. So that's cool. I love the abstraction layer. This is something I've been working on for a long time, and I find this to be a very fresh take on the user experience. Once Writer's done, it pops it over to Reviewer. Reviewer right now is just going to say, all right, is this actually meeting the criteria? Are our sources actually from today? And what's the result? And then from there, it's going to give us the output. So I can see, so I made changes quickly, which I appreciate about tools like this. So let's give it a shot. We can see we're getting a result that's functional. It's exactly what you want from a platform meant to run AI at scale. If you've ever built AI or orchestration manually, you can appreciate what you're seeing. We got an executive summary today. It provides any sources that it may have found. I get an impact statement for federal government contractors. All right, it's connected to the open web, generating real executive intelligence. Not bad for a first pass.